They got a lock on us. Engine's been hit.
Get us out of here.
I'm losing control.
Hello, I'm Zihan. Welcome to Unlimited Games, a series where we play and review some interesting games. Today, we'll be taking a look at the highly anticipated Cyberpunk 2077. Cyberpunk 2077 is a first-person RPG game developed by CD Projekt Red, a community favorite that created the game with the most awards won all time, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which has 251 awards to its name. Naturally, the gaming community had high expectations on the game, but on the flip side, the higher the expectation, greater the disappointment when it fails. So the question is, will the game live up to its expectations? And should you, who's perhaps tight on money, buy the game? Well, let's jump right into it. For starters, you play as a mercenary named V and travel around a futuristic city called Night City, the city of dreams, to make a fortune and a name for themselves as a legend. V is extremely versatile and flexible, being able to pull off all types of stunts, be it a bucked move or a skillful stunt, which brings me to my first point, which is freedom of approach. One of the main charms of this game is that it allows you to handle the mission the way you want it to, instead of just following the game's instructions. What that means is that as long as you finish the quest objective, the process is fully in your hands. You can take your target down and detect it like a ninja, snipe your problems away, or charge in like Rambo or a raging rodent. This works for nearly all missions and even for small, random street fights. For example, there's this mission where your objective is to infiltrate a corporate warehouse and install a malware. Now, you can decide to play it like a stealth game, sneaking past the guards and take them down silently, or play it like a shooter by gunning all obstacles to your goal, or just become a speedrunner and ignore everything, parkouring straight to your objective while moving from cover to cover. What's better? The game provides you with the perks and stats to suit your intended playstyle. The cherry on top is that if you have the right stats, you unlock certain alternative actions. For example, if you have enough strength, you can force open the door to create a shortcut, or you can bypass the security terminals through hacking if you have high intelligence. Since this is a cyberpunk game, there are even cyberwares or cybernetic implants that allow you to double jump, have blade or whips for arms, making your gameplay really versatile. You can even hack an equipment to your advantage, or, even better, directly hack your enemy to disarm or blind them. V, the mercenary you are playing as may be a single character, but the number of ways they can be built by you makes the V stand for variety. Sadly, this variety also comes in the form of bugs, which brings us to the first con of this game. The game is not well polished enough. This should not come across as a surprise by now. Since its release, the game has displayed a questionable amount of bugs and traps. Traps such as landing yourself into a confined space and having a really hard time trying to jump or crouch out of it. This includes the vehicles that landed in between blocks, which render you unable to exit the vehicle because there is no space to exit. Big party pooper! Let's just say that every 4 hours of gameplay, at least one bug is bound to appear. The bug varies from vehicles suspended in midair, audio clips suddenly failing to work, item description not going away after leaving it, the list goes on and on. Heck, I even caught this NPC T-posing. I know bug fixes are still incoming, but for now, the amount of bugs can be a bit frustrating as I have to reload the game every few hours whenever they happen. But on the bright side, at least the game autosaves every now and then. Other than buggy scenarios, I noticed some features or behavior that made me feel like the game wasn't thoroughly tested and were overlooked, or they were just straight up ignored. You see, there are certain types of guns in the game that allow you to penetrate through walls and hit your target. This is nothing new in games, it's called a wallbang. Or sometimes it's a design and it's cool, sometimes it's a bug. But I felt they did not consider the thickness of the walls the bullets can penetrate through. For example, shooting through a drywall or piece of metal sheet, that's normal. Shooting through a cargo crate or a car, it's kinda pushing it here. But shooting through everything within range, even several walls and obstacles? Why even bother peeking out at this point? Just look at this, it's absurd. The program code for this feature probably just checks if the gun is capable of wallbang, but not how much it can wallbang. Compare this to CSGO, where wallbang is actually a tactical move, where you need to consider the penetration power of your gun and the thickness and strength of the material you plan to shoot through. But I guess realism isn't the main point in an over-the-top sci-fi game, huh? Then there's fist fighting, a special set of side quests featuring a boxing tournament, and boy, it is a nightmare. What you're seeing here is a fast-forwarded footage of a fistfight quest. It's long, tedious, and repetitive. And if you make one or two mistakes, you will have to retry the fight all over again. Oh, and by the way, I was in easy mode to see how ridiculous it gets. Lastly, the hitboxes and AI is flawed and broken like this fight right here. Then there's the big river that's pretty uninteresting while being tedious to get out of if you happen to fall into it. If you ever think that you are useless or have no purpose in life, remember, this item exists. The quest waypoints can be confusing or go haywire at times. For example, it may show you the route of a very law-abiding citizen when you probably aren't one. In summary, the game is still a mess, and considering the fact that it took 8 years to make, compared to The Witcher 3, which they only took 3.5 years to make, I find it a bit disappointing. Point number 3. There are way too many noises. By noises, I don't mean the kind your neighbor above you makes when they tap dance at 3 AM or screech "Rah!" What I meant is that there are too many things going on that makes you lose focus or hinder your enjoyment of the game. This is especially true during the early stages of the game, primarily caused by the constant phone calls from a gig provider, the quest giver, named Regina Jones. Here's the thing, nobody, I repeat, nobody likes getting called in the middle of fun. On my way to a gun store, ring-a-ding-ding, I got a job for you. During one of my side quests on my fully packed schedule, hey, would you mind retrieving your package? Even while I was committing literal homicide, yo fam, I don't have jobs for you, but do you want this car? Stop. Just stop. I will ask when I need a job. They could have just made one small notification that they have jobs for me, like leaving a message, or just have something like a contract notice board in The Witcher 3. There are fixers in this world that work as the medium between the clients, job provider, and mercenary, that's you. But if all the fixers are going to constantly call me directly anyway, why bother telling me where they are on the map like this? These sudden calls disrupt gameplay, and you can't even ignore their calls. Seriously, I tried it. I ignored the call for 5 seconds and it auto-answered the call. And there are a lot of this lying throughout the map as it is very packed. Look, the main reason I'm not answering is because I do not wish to be disturbed by what I was doing then. Another point is that there are too many things to look into from the start, which is too overwhelming. From your character stats alone, there are 5 stats, each having 2 or 3 perk categories, and each category has its own experience level, just like in Skyrim. In one category alone, there are about 15 of those perks to look into. Then there's a separate character level called Street Cred, which is basically your reputation. The game can go really deep and detailed, but too quick, too sudden, causing information overload. Short, one-time descriptions were popping up everywhere in the first hour of my gameplay. Even back in high school, my physics teacher took a full hour to explain Newton's laws of motion. Within the first 10 hours of gameplay, I'm still wondering how the heck these mechanics work. I didn't even know that Cyberware had mod slots, and that not all weapon mods fit on all weapons until Act 2. To sum it up, you also have some patience early on to know the ropes, after which, the journey would be quite enjoyable, at least until Cyberpunk 2077 happens. Now, let's go to another main concern, stories and character development. Well, the main story is interesting and a bit convoluted at times. The side quests in this game are mostly really well made. Each of them has their own story to tell. This makes them memorable, unlike the gigs provided by fixers. Just shout out Regina Jones. The gigs felt like a bunch of tasks hindering your completion or dragging the game. The way the side quests are made has striking similarities with The Witcher 3. The side quests make you feel the flow of time because some events only happen at certain times of the day. They show you unique areas and interactions, foster in-depth development with other characters, making the game feel alive. Not only that, you may sometimes bump into mini-side quests that feel like comedic reliefs. There's this guy I met on the street that has a genital implant malfunction and begged me to carry him to the local repair dock for repairs. Sure, it came out of nowhere, but it's funny as heck. I can't say the same for the gigs though. Gigs in Cyberpunk are parallel to contracts in The Witcher 3, basically what you do for a living, your job. In The Witcher 3, you play as Gary the metrosexual fruitcake. I mean Geralt of Rivia, a Witcher, also known as a monster slayer. So, you take contracts posted by the people on the board. And why can't Regina Jones just do this? Just post it on Reddit forum or something, man. Then, as Geralt, you solve whatever monster problem they may have. In Cyberpunk, you're a mercenary, so you do lots of gigs, arguably more than The Witcher 3. The thing is, these jobs all seem the same. The only difference is that you're doing it for different clients. You're either tasked to steal something, plant a malware, or assassinate someone. You're even categorized for you. Nearly every Witcher 3 contract features a different monster, and this alone made the Witcher 3 contracts way superior to Cyberpunk's gigs. There are a few memorable gigs, such as hunting down special units known as cyberpsychos and extracting a human target, but the experience is all but watered down by the mediocre ones. To be fair, Witcher 3 has a bunch of fantastic beasts and many different ways to slay them, so it's much easier for them to be interesting. What I find more interesting in this game is the dialogue choices and their consequences. Consequences of choices is another thing Cyberpunk excels in, which is pretty much on par with The Witcher 3. Your choice actually matters at some point, and it makes you question your morality at times. The only thing Cyberpunk lacks, though, is a strong impact from the choices you made. The impact is there, but it isn't as powerful and lasting as The Witcher 3's, where it sends a strong message that you can't save everyone and the NPCs remember the decisions you made, the people you sacrificed. Cyberpunk, on the other hand, mostly offers changes in dialogue outcomes or getting the romance with an NPC or not. Yeah, sure, choosing to assassinate the actor or joining him in the religious propaganda can yield different rewards and outcomes, but in the long run, nothing much changes. The strongest impact was delivered when you're faced with the options at the end of the final act, and the friends you made along the way determine how you can end the game. In short, the ending has more factors affecting it at the cost of having less meaningful impact throughout the game. Now, let's go to the next point. First-person immersiveness, which is a strong advantage of the game. Other than driving, where you get the option to drive in third-person mode, the entire game is in first-person. The realism of this perspective makes the game really immersive. When you try to parkour, you can see your hands pulling yourself up the ledges. Landing after a big fall will cause you to tumble a bit and the minimap will glitch out, giving you the ouch feel. Or swimming, your vision alternates between being above and below water, simulating your head emerging from the water for air. It would have been cool if the waters were actually worth exploring, because they are pretty well made to the point that it feels like VR. But at the same time, there's this unrealistic scenario where you can casually walk out of the speeding car. In their defense, ask yourself this: do you really want to see yourself diving out of the speeding car and rolling on the floor multiple times in first-person view though? I imagine that would be a terribly nauseating experience if simulated realistically. Sometimes, gameplay is more important than realism. Grenades not making a splash when it explodes underwater is inexcusable though. You know what else is inexcusable? A forced mechanic. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's discuss the game's feature known as the wanted level. The wanted level mechanic, also the iconic feature of Grand Theft Auto, has been implemented in many open-world first-person games such as Saints Row, Sleeping Dogs, and Watch Dogs. Cyberpunk 2077 is no exception, but this feature feels kinda forced. Let me explain. One thing for sure about wanted levels is that nobody wants to get high wanted levels by accident. You either play the obedient citizen or the absolute mad lad on purpose. Usually, you have to commit serious crime or homicide to become GTA 5 stars, but it's Cyberpunk? I tried it and here's the footage. Killing one civilian gives you 1 star, with a maximum of 4. The way to achieve 4 stars is too easy compared to GTA, and so is the way to remove it. simply drive for a while and it's completely gone. Instead of progressively decreasing one by one, all of the wanted levels have straight up disappeared. Like, they don't even care. Another complaint I have is that cops don't even bother to chase you on cars. They would just straight up teleport behind you when they spawn. There's no thrill of trying hard to get the authorities' attention and see how far you can go and survive the never-ending onslaught from the hands of justice, because they will somehow lose track of you once you get on the highway. Look, those police are as strong as the guards in The Witcher 3. They can essentially 2 or 3 shot you no matter your level or equipment. This made me question if CD Projekt Red truly intended to fuse the powerful gods that 2-shot you in The Witcher 3 with this wanted level gimmick. This marriage ended up badly, and the only redeeming factor is that, at the very least, there's an increase in the intensity of police countermeasures the higher wanted level you are at, which is nice. In short, this was a poor attempt at trying to recreate a gimmick that should have fit well in this game. Now, we've gone through the nitty-gritty, meaty-juicy parts, the main aspects of the gameplay. At the end of this video, I want to talk about some of the more personal details that I feel like nitpicking. First, the vehicle controls and physics are a little wacky. Most vehicles, including the bikes in this game, felt skid-prone. Just turning a little will make a car's back wag like a dog's tail upon seeing its master's return. Moreover, collision physics of this game is questionable at best. I once had my truck clipping into a car. Ramming into civilians can sometimes cause my motorbike to fly upward. Bulldozing into a rock will break the rock and drive through, but banging into a trash pile will instantly halt the car. Seems legit. Secondly, car ads. Really? I don't understand. We live in 2021. We can buy houses, household appliances, or even drugs online. Nowadays, even cars can be delivered to your doorstep if you can afford it. And yet here we are, in the year 2077, and we have car ads via short messages appearing in your journal. What's worse, to buy the car, you have to travel to the car's location personally. You know you can at least set up an automobile shop, right? Why not just let me pay up through the net and transfer the car ownership to me? This part made me feel like I was in 1977 instead of 2077. So, finally, we come to the cake verdict. In conclusion, Cyberpunk 2077 is a fun, beautiful game with lots of choices and immersive experiences, until it bugs out and becomes Cyberpunk 2077. It is like a Michelin star-grade cake on the inside, but ruined by the overabundance of fruits and decorations on the top, as well as having a layer of uneven icing spread. This is what it could have been, but now, it looks more like this. Anyways, we've come to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. What is your favorite part of Cyberpunk 2077? Do you think we missed any important mechanics in the game? What are some games you hope we'll review next? Tell us in the comments down below. Hope you liked the video, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Goodbye, stay safe, and see you in the next episode of Unlimited Games.